The Defense Department offering a briefing about the deteriorating situation in Afghanistan. The Pentagon is now deploying troops to help evacuate embassy personnel from Kabul. They'll be sending 3,000 infantry troops to Kabul's airport, in addition to the 650 U.S. troops already there. Additional troops will also be going to Kuwait and Qatar. The move comes as the Taliban is quickly gaining control of more territory as U.S. troops pull out of the country. This video released by the Taliban claims to show their troops at the Herat police headquarters there. That would be the 11th provincial capital city to fall under their control. The U.S. is warning that as they advance, Taliban fighters are also committing atrocities that could amount to war crimes. Senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell is on the phone with us, and senior Pentagon reporter Luis Martinez joins us from the Pentagon. Ian, I want to start with you. President Biden has been criticized for agreeing to withdraw our troops from Afghanistan. He said that the Afghan government is capable of maintaining safety there. Now here's the Pentagon announcing plans to evacuate the embassy, as, by the way, I should mention, you warned us might happen this morning, but they're also sending troops to facilitate that. What do you make of this? Is this an admission of failure?
I mean, I think it is a de facto admission of failure. I mean, I think it's one thing to discuss the withdrawal of American troops after 20 years, trillions of dollars, lives, American lives lost, and it's a perfectly legitimate question to say, why should American mothers and fathers send their sons and daughters into harm's way anymore in a country in a battle which didn't seem to have an end? It's a totally different thing to offer an unconditional withdrawal to the Taliban. Even today, we saw Zalmay Khalilzad, who's the U.S. Special Representative, meeting with Mullah Barada, the head of the Taliban in Doha, conducting talks which have led nowhere for a very long time. And at the same time, you have the Taliban sweeping into territory, as you say, accused of conducting war crimes. They have a momentum that appears unstoppable. I think the deployment of troops is perfectly sensible, because the writing is now on the wall. We gave a signal, not just America, but NATO as well, to the Taliban. It was a green light for them to start moving into different parts of the country, to start taking over district centres and then provincial capitals. There was to be really no meaningful resistance from us to that. As long as they didn't attack us, we wouldn't respond to them. There's been some bombing, but it's fairly marginal in terms of its impact on the ground. And to all those Afghans who we gave hopes and dreams to, because we told them this was about more than just Al-Qaeda. We told them this was about nation building. This was about girls going to school. It was about women's equality, women's rights. Successive U.S. administrations said as much. And tonight those dreams are pretty much dead. And just spare a moment, if you will, for those Afghans who believe what we said. Tonight they're hearing the same news, that thousands of American troops are coming in there, not to protect them, not to protect their homes, their schools, their livelihoods, but just to facilitate the orderly withdrawal. We keep hearing this word orderly, of U.S. personnel and also special immigrant visa applicants. I mean, I understand why it's happening. It makes perfect sense. You'd have to do it at this point. But yes, for me, it signals failure.
And Louis, just picking up on what Ian is saying there about this being a safe and orderly mission, the Pentagon being very vague about what they're even calling this. Kirby was challenged about whether this is a combat mission or not. What is your gut? I mean, we're talking about thousands of troops being brought in. We have seen what has happened to embassies when U.S. troops have pulled out, whether it's in Iraq or Afghanistan. If not calling it a combat mission, they are definitely preparing for what could be a combat mission.
No, you're exactly right, Kira. He was pretty emphatic that this is not a combat mission. But let's face it, these troops are going to be wearing protective armor. They're going to be carrying their arms. They're going to be ready in case there is combat. This is a worsening and deteriorating security situation inside of Afghanistan. That's why they're going there. You need these troops to help facilitate the transit of these interpreters and their families. We're talking about 20,000 at least who may be heading to the airport at some point. Some of them may need to transportation deportation. Now, Spokesman Kirby did not get into that, but you have to think of that as a possibility. He framed this as getting out American civilians. That's true, but the smallest component of the civilians that are going to be getting out of this mission are going to be the Americans, because you're going to have something like I said, maybe 20,000 Afghan civilians and former interpreters who worked with the U.S. military and their families who are going to be evacuated out of Afghanistan aboard U.S. military aircraft. This is a significant mission. You're right, it's not being called a combat mission, but the mere fact that you're sending in 3,000 troops to back up the 650 that are already there means they're concerned about the worsening security situation, and they want to ensure the safety of those individuals as they get out, and you ensure their safety by preparing for a combat scenario.
And Ian, we heard a reporter in that press conference comparing this to the fall of Saigon, but what's the alternative? Is it keeping troops in Afghanistan indefinitely?
I mean, yeah, I mean, you have a look online on social media, you'll see the fall of Saigon almost trending. I've never seen it tweeted and raised so many times. I mean, it's probably facile. I mean, what do I know? I think that probably dishonors many Vietnam veterans. They were two very different conflicts. Vietnam was not of Joe Biden's making. He's on record as being against the ongoing conflict in Afghanistan for a long time. However, just for a moment for what the optics are going to look like, as Louis described there, you're going to see thousands of Afghans running across the runway, getting onto planes, the same for U.S. diplomatic personnel. There will be a sense of urgency about it. This looks like an emergency mission. It's hard to see it as anything other than that because of the rapidly deteriorating security situation, and who knows how much that continues to deteriorate. I think the threat of force will deter the Taliban from trying to intervene in it, but nevertheless, the optics, the comparisons with Saigon will be made there. It's similar in the sense that we signaled our intentions. It was a green light to the people that we had regarded as the enemy, and they responded unsurprisingly and accordingly. But I don't think there was any other choice at this point for Joe Biden. The only question, a legitimate question in my mind, is did it have to be unconditional? We had very few cards left to play because of the way successive administrations, not just Joe Biden, but previous administrations, the Trump administration in particular, but even before that, the Obama administration, signaling very clearly, even I was working in Afghanistan during the surge down in the south, in Helmand and Kandahar, alongside U.S. and British troops. But President Obama made it clear that this was a limited time deployment, that they wanted out. And that's what the Taliban always wanted. In other words, we tipped our hand.
Louis, I just have to bring it back home as we watch this happen in Afghanistan, and we watch the deterioration here of the security. We watch the Taliban hoist its flag over 2/3 of the country right now. 9/11 happened because of what extremists were able to create and build within Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda, Taliban, Osama bin Laden, let's not forget. I mean, that's why so many people died in this country, because of the terrorism that was built up in Afghanistan. So as you watch this happen, I'm sure Ian has his thoughts as well. You know, it's like we're going backwards. We're going back in time. Is this a point where we need to be worried and about what's happening to this country and the control of the Taliban and how it could possibly impact even our safety once again here in the United States, like 9/11?
Kerry, that's been one of the main questions that's been asked about President Biden's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from inside Afghanistan. He has stressed that the mission following 9/11, which was to go in there in October of 2001, that's when this operation began, was to ensure that the Al-Qaeda terror network could be defeated and that they would not strike again against the United States. That over time that has evolved into ISIS, because they have also built up that kind of a threat. But the president has been firm in his belief that mission has been completed, that Al-Qaeda inside Afghanistan is a shadow of its former self. But others, as we've heard on Capitol Hill, others who are not supporting the president's decision have argued that by withdrawing, you're going to potentially recreate the circumstances that happened inside Iraq in 2011, where there was a security vacuum, and then that enabled ISIS to form. And we know what happened then. ISIS took over significant parts of Syria and Iraq, and that led to the return of American troops to a combat mission. So that example of Iraq has been used as a counterpoint to President Biden's argument for why American troops needed to be withdrawn from inside Afghanistan. But we have heard that the mission can be accomplished to contain any terror threat inside of Afghanistan, because the concern is that you create a safe haven where the Taliban is in control and they allow terror networks like al-Qaeda to operate and plan attacks against the United States. The argument that has been made by the administration and within the U.S. military is that the U.S. military has the capability to strike at counterterrorism targets inside Afghanistan whenever they can, and they also have the ability to monitor them. Now, it's going to be significantly less than was the case when you had troops inside Afghanistan, because there's no better intelligence assets for you than personnel on the ground. And when you withdraw those personnel, you lose valuable communications with people on the ground who know exactly what's going on, or with government officials who have a better sense. But that's the argument that's been made, and you're exactly right. This has been something that's been at the forefront. Concerns that by American troops withdrawing from inside Afghanistan, you cause the conditions for a new safe haven for a terror group to threaten the United States.
All right, ABC's Louis Martinez and Ian Panel, thank you both. We appreciate it.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.